Welcome to A Look Inside. I'm your host, Demetria Head, and today's special guest is author of Shadowed Secret, Book 5 in the Mirror's Estate series, S.F. Baumgartner. Welcome, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. Now, before I get into the questions, I do want to say this. When I opened your book, one thing that I really appreciated was how you did the recap. For anyone like me, I haven't read all five books yet, but I've read a couple of them. So that recap really does help you to understand, okay, these are the series of events that have happened since book one. So I really do appreciate that.
Yeah, I just thought, eh, like TV shows, sometimes they do the recaps in case people forgot an episode that was like maybe even last season or something, and
Mhm.
something like that. So,
Absolutely. So let's talk about Phil Shagley. He seems to have kind of a dual identity. He was a priest and former SEAL operative, and it gives him a unique moral compass. What inspired you to combine spiritual vocation with covert intelligence work?
actually, it was well, I I didn't really come up. I wanted a priest there.
Hmm.
And I read, in another novel, they had this a priest who had some military background,
Hmm.
and that kind of gave me the idea. And I know personally there are a few, some priests in our area who was in the service,
Hmm.
did something. So I was thinking, well, that's a unique combination. I
Hmm.
can definitely use that. So that's how it happened.
Okay. So the ghost remains one of the most enigmatic characters in the series. What was your process for evolving her from a criminal mastermind into a cooperative, but still dangerous asset?
A lot of people, I believe, if maybe you included, but when they first started reading Buried Secrets and Living Secrets, they might think that, oh, this sounds a lot like the Blacklist. I don't know if you're familiar with that show, but and it does, that's what inspired me to think of that. But then it's really not the same because
Hmm.
that's just an inspiration for me.
Hmm.
So I use that. And then actually, there's another character in another book and show that you will see eventually in the next couple books. It will, you see what she is a very, very complex character. You
Hmm.
will see that you know, it, eventually it will show, her. In fact, after this, that her arc wraps up probably in the next two books. Once it wraps up, I may just put a compilation of her short the short stories or something, that's just about the ghost.
Hmm.
It's like sort of like a biography kind of thing, like how she grew from that to this,
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see.
I would love to read something like that because even when I'm watching movies like that, I'm always curious about the backstory, of certain characters, like, oh, what led them to get here? Why are they like that? I love a backstory because especially the more intriguing the character is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I hope you do.
Yeah, well, like I said, I'm planning on wrapping up her arc in the next couple books.
Okay.
And when that's done, then I think at least some people, if not a lot, will be curious to find out, to know more about the ghost.
Oh yeah.
She is a really complex character.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know I will. Please let me know. So, Victor Marlowe is a chilling antagonist. What led you to center this installment on art crime and black market auctions instead of traditional espionage?
um, it's I it's hard to say. I like to just because my mind goes to, I just love all these TV shows and I like,
Hmm.
I watch them and the ideas kind of just jumbo in my head, bounce around and I thought, okay, um, I think this came from probably inspired by like white collar, the
Okay.
art, and but then I want to throw in something, you know, dangerous stuff in there.
Hmm.
So that's how I kind of came up with the art theft and then, you
Okay.
know, make it dangerous.
Hmm. Yeah. My kind of action. So, did you have any challenges when you were writing any of the books, book five or any of the previous books?
Yeah, I think book one came pretty easily because I already had that story in mind.
Hmm.
Um, book two was a continuation. I think Shadow Secret, this new one,
Mm.
is probably the most challenging, just because I scrap, I had to do a few rewrites,
Okay.
not really scrap the whole thing, but I had to, do something all over again just because it's really not where I want it to go.
Hmm.
I started writing, okay, going this direction. I said, no, 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 that's not really what I want to do. So then I had to go back and
Hmm.
do something. I mean, I don't know. People think that okay, you should if you're a planner or something, then a plotter, then you shouldn't have to worry about it. But I don't know. I mean, I am sort of a plotter. I'm somewhat of a plotter. And I know the beginning and the end.
Yeah.
It's just the middle that I'm not sure. you
Hmm.
know so so once and I kind of feel like if I plot it so rigidly, follow it so rigidly, then I kind of lose the creativity in it. Like I can't be spontaneous. I
Hmm.
can't let the characters um be themselves.
Hmm.
Like if I can't really force a character. I don't know. I think only writers can
Yeah.
understand that. You know, your readers, I don't know, but if you're a writer, you know that
Yeah.
sometimes you really just can't make a character do something that's
Hmm.
not right, or So I don't know. This is like I said. This it. That's why it took a while. My last book, I released Christmas Murders in November, end of November.
Okay.
And this one came out end of May, so it took a while. Usually, you
Hmm.
know, last year I released through four, Forgotten Secret, Tango Secret, four books
Wow.
last year.
Wow.
So, like every 3, 4 months or so. So this one took a while, and
Oh, wow. But you write fast because I'm a writer too, but I don't write that fast because like you were saying, I do get that about the characters and but my biggest challenge is not just the characters, but just my plot always seems to change when I'm writing. Because I'm like, no, I want that to make sense. And then I end up rewriting 4 or 5 different times, and it might take me more than a year to really
wow.
finish it until I'm satisfied. I feel like I'm rewriting it 100 times. And then I want to get the atmospheric setting just right. And then I want to get the dialogue just right. Am I writing enough dialogue? Am I writing too little dialogue? And maybe I overthink it too, but yeah, I have my challenges when it comes to writing. But then I've also had writing books that have taken on a mind of their own, and just, you know, breathed naturally how the characters should be and how the setting should be.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
So do you which when it comes to writing, do you which part is easiest for you? Is it the shaping the atmosphere or shaping the I know you don't force the characters like you said to do what they're not supposed to do, but do you have any challenges like when it comes to shaping the dialogue or shaping the setting or any of those things?
I tend to put myself in it. I visualize the scene. It's based
Yeah.
to me, it's like watching TV shows.
Hmm.
And I kind of put myself in there, what I can, see them, how, the conversation. I can imagine how,
Yeah.
they would, so that's what, and then yeah, like I said, yeah, because I'm visualizing it. So I basically can see what the setting is like.
Hmm.
I know, like, if I say, for instance, Father Phil in that alley got, um, ambushed, and I kind of visualize it in that alley that he was boxed in and had to go to that alley, and then the that kind of stuff. So I just it's and the what is it, the helicopter, uh the rooftop scene, same thing, the Olivia, getting shot, and
Hmm.
that I kind of just see it, and then
Yeah.
it's easy for me when I can visualize it. If
Yeah.
I see, if I my heart is not in it, then I can't visualize it, and if I
Mhm.
can't visualize it, then it's hard for me to put it in words.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. Because I do try to visualize like, okay, what do I want my readers, to see? Not just read it, but I want them to see it. I want them to feel like they're right there in the scene. So I completely get it. So let's talk about Dylan and Lily's relationship. It continues to grow while they juggle buried family secrets and hidden maps. So how do you balance the personal stakes with the high concept plot lines?
Yeah, it's so each book. So those, if you notice, the buried treasures or secrets or whatever, those things kind of like at the lower level, like, you know, floating around across the books. But
Hmm.
then the each book has a main thing, like has a main, whether it's kidnapping, this art theft, a book, or whatever it is, or abduction or something.
Hmm.
There's the main central, the topical thing that they had to deal with. And then underneath, it's kind of like the ghost, it's in the background. There's underneath carried through across the different books.
Hmm.
And speaking of, the changing, same thing with Dylan and Lily, because when I first started writing, the first book, Lily, if you, I don't know if you, the readers who read it will recall that I had originally wanted Lily and Kyle,
Okay.
but then that was, that was my intention. But as I was writing it, um, probably the end of book one and then into book two, I realized that's probably not, they're not going to do well.
Hmm.
And it's, Dylan and Lily would probably be better fit just because both of them, um, their life changed, all of a sudden.
Hmm.
Dylan just, all of a sudden found out that he's got a whole family, he thought he was all alone, and then this so turn is, and Lily, same thing, she thought she was an orphan, and then all of a sudden she found out that her parents are still alive, and it's just so. I mean, it was, I believe, actually, it was. Yeah, while I was writing book one of the scenes that they were talking, and she asked him, um, how do you deal with it? That kind of stuff. How do you deal with this sudden thing? And that at that moment, I kind of thought, wow, wait a minute, don't, they should, I think they should belong together because they have, only they would understand each other,
Yeah.
how, what happened in their life, that their whole life got turned upside down,
Hmm.
so, well, anyway, that's,
I
yeah.
I do have one question. So, do you ever do a character analysis after you write the book so that, your readers can understand it, or you just let them figure that out as they're reading and getting to know these characters as the book shapes them?
You mean, do I do it myself, like analyze each character
Hmm.
after each book? I guess yes and no. I kind of know what I know they, I, I, I feel like I know them personally,
Hmm.
so I don't really need to analyze too much. Now, if they veer off too far,
Hmm.
then see, that's the thing. That's why I can't do that. I can't, like, all of a sudden. Well, see, even I'm sure that people, readers, know that Dylan and Lily, they are the adventurous type. They're always, that's why they said they're always getting in trouble, that kind of stuff. So you can't, I can't all of a sudden, like, their response can't be, oh, we'll sit this one out.
Yeah.
That's okay. Oh, he's in trouble. That's okay. The cops will take care of it or whatever. And we just sit there, that's just not them,
Yeah.
you know. So I kind of know them.
Mhm.
I believe readers can feel that, can pick up on it. So
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about this missing book. It becomes the central mystery. So, can you talk about what it symbolizes and why it's such a powerful narrative driver in this volume without giving away too much?
yeah, it's not, I don't think it symbolizes anything. It's just
Okay.
yeah, but the thing is, I got that idea, believe it or not, it's from an episode of NCIS LA. And I
Okay.
don't even remember what that episode, I mean, how it turned out. I just remember that there was this missing book.
Hmm.
And then I remember, I'm not sure if it was that episode, maybe another show, something about uh, these, somebody, some intelligence agency or something, they discovered their, or maybe some covert operatives got exposed or something like that. And I just thought, well, that's great. I'll just make this missing book, you know, and it doesn't exist. That book doesn't even exist. It's just the the rumor that this book exists with the names of all these covert operatives.
Hmm.
And then obviously, I thought about it, and I did, well, I asked I asked Google and
Hmm.
ChatGPT, and I said, okay, in this scenario, do you think that the governments are really gonna just say, okay, it's just fake, it's just forget it or something, um and it, well, if it's, I just don't believe that they would let it rest without at least taking a closer look.
Hmm.
If you heard of a rumor that there's this book that lists is going to show all your covert operatives somewhere, then I mean, you may think that it's not true, but you just want to be absolutely certain,
Hmm.
right? So so I thought, well, that's great. That should be the response.
Hmm.
Yeah. So then, uh, is there another part to this question? Can I?
No, that was it.
Okay.
So Mia Granger's sudden disappearance and possible double life hint at deeper betrayals. Was she always intended to be a wild card, or did her role shift during the writing process?
Well, Mia is just, I think I guess I didn't, to me, the sudden disappearance really, in my mind, she might have just stepped out to answer the phone or something, to make a phone call or something. I didn't think that because they were in this party,
Hmm.
and I just thought that maybe she stepped out either to the bathroom or to answer a phone call or something. It's just that um, maybe I didn't put it in there that and then um yeah, so it's not, but yeah, she does have a double life, well,
Hmm.
sort of, because she is helping an asset, the Homeland Security, whatever they call HSI, the yeah, for the accounting, the audit of
Okay.
Marlowe's, yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah, so it's a double life, but she does have some interesting background, as you can see. She is obviously she grew up totally different than Dylan and Tommy, and she learned how to um what do you call it, pick a lock, and then steal a car and that kind of stuff, and but I just thought that it's interesting to put in a character with that kind of background, you
Hmm.
know.
Oh yeah.
So
I think all the characters, even the supporting characters they are all interesting. They don't overshadow the main characters, but they each stand out in their own way. And I love books like that. I love if you can pull a book off like that where it's like, 10 characters are interesting and you don't know which one is going to be your favorite, I think that's good writing.
thank you. Yeah. Well, a lot of some people complain that there are too many characters.
Really?
Yeah, and I just thought I kind of introduced them slowly,
Hmm.
gradually, like book one, you know, in book one, there's only Lily and Dylan and Kyle.
Hmm.
And well, of course, Karen, all that from the grandma and the supporting characters, they were there. And then, well, of course, Olivia and Simon. But, and I'm thinking that, if you are into that kind of this thrillers, you should be able to digest,
Oh yeah.
you know. What the first book had maybe core characters, maybe less than 10, gotta be maybe
Mhm.
5 or 6, core characters.
Mhm.
And then I slowly introduced some more.
Mhm.
And then now I provide a relationship chart too. So
I saw that.
yeah,
I
so
saw
you get to see who is who, how
that.
they related.
So I think
Um,
that was very helpful because that's what I forgot to mention. I do like how you gave it a family tree style, the way the setup was. And so they could understand, where everyone fit, who was who and all of that. I think that's very helpful. For me personally, I don't, I love a lot of characters. I don't think that there could ever be I think that in the way you introduce the characters, it's a good balance. And I think that if people actually read books one all the way to book five, they will see that balance and they'll understand how and why these characters are being introduced. And they'll be able to keep up, especially with that relationship chart. Just like when I'm watching movies, for example, I don't like very few characters. That's not my personal taste. I don't because I think that it just for me, I don't know, it just makes the movie, I don't know, dead. No. I don't know. That's the best way I can explain it. I don't like
But
a small amount of characters.
yeah, for I think especially in mysteries, if you only limit your cast to maybe five characters, then
Hmm.
I mean, then it's easy for you to pick who the villain is.
Yeah.
The good guys, the hero, and it can't be the one. So then you only have three left. It's easy to pick.
Exactly.
You can't really throw out any carrots. You can't really. There's no, you know what I mean. But
Right.
if you have, you know, a host of characters
Mhm.
floating around, they may
Right.
just be in the background, but
Mhm.
then but then it's easier for you to do this. At least that's what I think.
Oh yeah, I absolutely agree. So let's talk a little bit more about ghosts. Ghost references Nazi looted treasure connected to the Marino family. What kind of research did you do to authentically weave World War II history into your modern thriller?
Yeah, I did do some research, and nowadays doing research really just means it's sitting at your computer typing a lot, and that's basically what I did.
Mhm.
And sure enough, I found out that there are still some um, uh, uh, artwork from old masters. They have been, stolen,
Wow.
you know, uh, by, and then they went underground, I guess, just because, you can't really sell them openly because they
Okay.
are,
Mm.
so, um, not, I don't have the notes anymore, but they exist, so I figure that it's easy enough. I can just throw that in there that they
Yeah.
get, I didn't, of course, I didn't mean for the Marino family to steal it, but then like the ghost implied that, well, they didn't have to steal it, or perhaps they would just be the one to help store it, like you know, I'm because I'm thinking that the Nazi back then they had, I guess they had business associates, you can call them, or something, um so they can, will you store this for me, since they are
Mhm.
such a powerful criminal families, you store this for me and we'll give you whatever safe passage or whatever, we're not going to
Yeah.
bother you or something, that kind of stuff. So I figured that it makes sense.
Yeah. So, Father Stan Novak's reappearance suggests deeper Vatican intelligence involvement. Will we see more of this secret spiritual network in future books, or is that something you can tell right now?
I think it will, there will be a little bit of that,
Okay.
because uh, well, but then you need to know that the real live Vatican intelligence is really nothing like the Dan Browns,
Mhm.
or what I'm portraying is they
Yeah.
don't do that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
But it's nice to throw the names of around, so Vatican intelligence.
Right.
They but yeah, they'll I think there will be a little bit of that coming up again.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to. I think you're an amazing writer, by the way.
Thank you.
So, and I like the all the complexities, the way you write, the way you um incorporate the different scenes, and then the police intelligence, the procedural, scenes, and all of that. And then adding a little bit of history. And it's no fun if you can't throw in, things like that. I think it. every writer doesn't have the gift to do that. So I think the fact that you can pull that off and it doesn't, or I don't lose, the premise, in reading your books. I think it's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd like to. I Christmas Murder is more of the linear
Mm,
thing, mystery.
okay.
And that's why, to me, it's a little bit different than
Mm,
Mirror State.
yeah.
It's more straightforward mystery. And
Mm,
then because it's so short that I can't really throw in a ton of characters and I can't really make you guess too hard. I mean,
yeah.
most people will knew exactly. Once they started reading, they'll know, oh well, I bet he's the bad guy, or he's the one, or something. Because I mean, who else? To me, that's how I think. Because whether it's TV, movie, or books, same thing. If you're
Mm,
limited to only a few characters,
yeah.
then you can eliminate easily. It
Right.
has to be. They have to be in the book. You can't just
Exactly.
you
Mhm.
can't just say that he's somebody not in the book.
Right.
Who else is there? You know?
Like he's the one. So the scenes at St. Anne's Orphanage and mirror Estate ground the story in emotional stakes. What does home mean to your characters, especially those like Mickey and Dylan?
Well, Mickey passed away now, so we don't have. As for Dylan, I believe
Mm-hmm.
um, I I get the feeling that he is accepting that he's now with the Marino family and accepting his heritage. So maybe he is gonna see the Mirror Estate as more of a home than uh, than just some strange new estate. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I think. And obviously he grew up in Washington State, but um, but I think he in the last couple years, he probably has kind of accepted his heritage. So, and
Okay.
he's making, Orlando his home base. So,
Okay.
yeah.
You've built a multi-generational saga filled with spies, criminals, priests, and politicians. How do you keep track of each character's lineage, loyalties, and secrets across books?
Uh, I don't know. They're all in my head. Yeah, it's sometimes it's hard to keep. Well, I don't know, actually. I usually start with, like, for instance, I'm thinking of the next book. So I would pick out um, who I'm going to focus on,
Hmm.
like which character is going to be um, take center stage.
Hmm.
And then, and then obviously I'll have, because I don't want it to be a straight mystery and I need some little bit of intelligence work because there's
Yeah.
Olivia, and I don't want her to be just sitting, aside. And um, so that's why it's kind of, and then now, of course, there's Father Phil with the Vatican intelligence,
Right.
although he's no longer active, but there's that background.
Hmm.
Um, it will all tie up together, I'll tell you. And next two books, the main arc,
Hmm.
from there, it's I'm planning to wrap it up in the next two books,
Okay.
and then and we'll see what happens. I mean, you know, well, maybe it will continue if people like it, or I have spin off with maybe just I don't know, with just a task force or just
Okay.
maybe Dylan and Lily or just the young kids, Dylan, Lily, and Tommy or Autumn or Olivia. I
Hmm.
don't know. I mean, I don't want to stop. It
Yeah.
seems like I can always find something
Hmm.
to write, but then I don't know. We'll see. But
Yeah.
I do know that I plan to wrap up the main arc, with
Okay.
the ghost in the next two books.
Okay. So Ron and Sheila's reunion, it adds a second chance romance angle. How do you see their arc influencing emotional tones of the series moving forward? Or will that, I know you're wrapping up in the next two books, but
Um, I think they'll be in the background. They're not going to be, front and center. But yeah, I'd like them to have a second chance again,
uh-huh.
just so that, you know, and again, this just came up. It's spontaneous. It's
Hmm.
nothing. It's not like I planned it,
Yeah.
because I didn't plan it, but I just thought, oh, well, it's nice. Maybe this would work.
Hmm.
So who knows? Maybe she'll come back again. I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, maybe she'll do something.
Hmm.
Not sure.
Okay, so Eva's rescue operations and undercover worker, fast-paced and cinematic, is she based on a real-world archetype or someone you know personally, or is she just completely...
No, it's all in my head. I don't know anybody like that.
Look,
I wish, but I don't know anybody.
sometimes when I'm reading about these characters, I'm like, I know someone like that or with that personality. Oh, so let's talk about Phil's scene with Jean-Claude or Sam Rhodes. It reveals a deep web of disinformation and hidden alliances. How do you approach writing characters with multiple layers of identity?
Yeah, it's fortunately Jean-Claude, there were only a few chapters
Hmm.
and before he got killed. So, but he has some backstory that he
Hmm.
might, so, but yeah, I was thinking, these uh, covert operatives, they really, what do they do when they retire? Can they really retire?
Yeah.
Especially if they know all these secrets.
Hmm.
So I mean, on TV, there are all different ways to handle this. Like uh, sometimes they say, I read some of I mean, I didn't read it, but see on TV, there's this one way to handle it is if somebody had like in the blacklist, that's what happened to that whatever her name is. She was ex Mossad, and they were going to kill her just because she had some kind of illness that that made her that she could, like, it's kind of like a dementia kind of thing that she might not know, so she could inadvertently reveal any secrets, and supposedly Mozart was going to kill her.
Hmm.
And then there are other, like Tess Garrison, this new series of hers about spies, retired spies, moving, doing something in, was it Maine or some, I don't know, Northeast somewhere. And but then they let them live off their lives, golden years in there. And so I don't know. I guess we don't know. We really don't know what spies do when they retire, whether they actually retire or what. We don't know. But I guess, and then they're not gonna, as long as, I suppose, as long as I'm not bad mouthing them, I guess it's okay. However, I want to do it, So the way I'm trying to do is, he has so many enemies and he wants to, so then they they gave him a new identity and in that nursing home to play, someone with dementia.
Hmm.
And So I thought and then of course, he might still have a finger in the pose to see what's going on and all that. And that's why, Father Phil would go to him to
Hmm.
ask questions and all that. And perhaps, he really, you never know, maybe he has a lot of secrets. He knows a lot of things. And so, you know,
So which
it's
one which one is your favorite character, or do you have a favorite character that you've written in the book, whether it's Dylan, Lily, Olivia, Father Phil, any of them?
no, I don't really have a favorite characters. It's like picking up your favorite child. You can't really, I don't, I don't have one, but um, when I'm writing them, I like each one of them. They're just, you know, I have to like them, right? Otherwise,
Yeah. Yeah.
if I don't like them, I can't.
Right. Okay. So, several characters seem to struggle with faith, redemption, and morality. How central is spirituality to the themes you're exploring in Shadowed Secret and A Mirrored Estate series as a whole?
Yeah, it's basically, well, if you haven't noticed, it's at least a very clean um, fiction.
Yeah.
It's clean fiction, and then it's has Christian elements.
Hmm.
And so the theme always revolves around like either redemption or hope or um, that sort of things. Like, for instance, Forgotten Secrets. It's about the theme of hope. It's really strong there, and
Hmm.
again, and I think redemption. It's probably a very strong theme throughout if you just because of how Carol Marino said that the Marino family um, turned around,
Hmm.
gave up the criminal past. So that's one thing, and that's to me that's a strong theme, and of course faith is part of it. It's Christian. I I don't you know I don't I'm not preachy. I don't, if you read it, you know that there's no
Yeah.
like Bible quote or anything. It's not, there's
Right.
no preaching or anything, but it has that Christian elements.
Hmm.
The characters, a lot of them are Christians. And um so there's that, that so whatever they do, um I guess their faith would influence their actions
Yeah.
and decisions.
Hmm.
And if they act contrary to their faith, you would see them struggle with it.
Yeah.
Like, um, that's the guilt, that kind of stuff. So
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I do like how you've incorporated that. And yes, it's definitely not preachy, but the reality of it is Christians are faced with the same day-to-day challenges as anyone else. And
mhm.
you get to see that in the book. So I really love that.
Thank you.
Mhm. So you've created a universe where no secret stays buried for long. Without spoilers, what can readers expect from the next book in terms of revelations and rising stakes? I know you touched on a little bit of it.
Yeah, when I started it, I was hoping to um, make it into like an ongoing series, just like there's so many of them, uh, like the, the Gabriel Annan or James Patterson has a lot of series that are ongoing,
Yes.
and Badachi has series that are ongoing. So you know, I was hoping that I still hope that, but I think as far as the major arc, this ghost. around the ghost. I'm planning to wrap up this particular major arc in the next two books. Because I think from the beginning, people always wonder about the ghost.
Mhm.
What is she after? What's the end game here? What's her end, what what made her want the steal? What
Mhm.
is she after?
Mhm.
That so I think I need to give it. I don't want to be the blacklist and let people just hang in there,
Right.
the series finish and then no real answer.
Yeah,
Find out who the who Raymond
exactly.
Reddington is. I
Exactly.
don't want that. I want to wrap it up at least. Then you have the answer, and then we'll go from there. You know.
Okay. Okay, well, I'm definitely looking forward to your next book. And I do want to go back and finish reading the three that I haven't read. I've read one besides book five. So I definitely want to read the other three because I want to get a better understanding of the whole book and how all the characters tie together. And anyone, any of your readers or those who haven't read the book yet, I'm going to include the links to all five books. I know they're all available on Amazon. So
Yes.
those links will be included in the description. Why don't you tell everyone where they can follow you to stay up to date on your next projects on social media?
I'm most active on Instagram, and I also have a Facebook page.
Okay.
Um, I mean, I'm on a lot of things, Twitter, X now, I think it's called Threads, and TikTok, but I'm not really on the Instagram and
Mhm.
Facebook. Um, just so you know, I just want to throw it out there that I'm re-editing book one, Living
Okay.
Secrets, and the prequel, Buried Secrets.
Mhm.
I'm hoping to expand it into a short novel.
Oh, wow.
That's that's my hope. I don't know how, So just because now that I'm already into book five, and then like I said, I have ideas for the two books to wrap up the series. So I'm thinking that I should go back and make sure that everything is there.
Mhm.
Like the to I don't want to. I'm not sure if I can make it into a short novel, but I would want to expand it a little bit just to give it a little bit more background because some people asked about
Yeah.
Dylan's parents
Okay.
and that kind of stuff. So I thought maybe I could expand on that a little bit
Okay.
because so just let you know.
That should be very interesting. Well, thank you so much, Sylvia, for sitting down and discussing Shadowed Secret, Book 5 in the Mirror Estate series. I'm going to include all of your social media and the where the book is available on Amazon. That all will be included in the description in Post Edit so that everyone can know where to follow you and where to purchase your books.
Yeah, I do have a website too. You do know that, right?
No, I do not. What is the website? Is it just your name.com? SF
Yeah,
Baumgartner?
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, HTTPS, and then sfbaumgartner.com.
Okay, I will put that in the description as well so they can go to your website.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.